everybody who prayed for me, all of those who believed in me. God, you keep doing the impossible. I thank you. Yeah, my vision always been bigger than the bigger picture.
The Genesis Project.
The question is who's in it with you. When you're losing, everybody switch you. When you're winning, everybody with you. I don't understand how you can count your problems and not your blessings.
Carlton Young.
What's happening, family? It's your guy, Mr. 8020 CY. I'm back at you with the Genesis, the Renaissance of Manhood. Today, man, I got this brother on here, man. This brother right here is a super dope brother, intelligent. He be dropping them bars. He does the soul work. He does it all. So, I'm going to introduce this brother to you. Let him give you a brief introduction, and then we're going to get into our subject today. So the subject today is going to be the journey inward, navigating the depths of the heart. And so today I have my guy Tero Roberts on the podcast with me. He's a father of two, retired flight attendant of 22 years, licensed life coach and heart work coach, and a motivational speaker of over 10 plus years. I've seen this brother do his thing. Let me tell you, this brother is cold, and he's going to be one of the best in the game. So without further ado, man, I want to introduce you to my guest for today, Tero Roberts. How you doing today, Tero?
Man, what up, Carlton? First of all, bro, I appreciate you for inviting me on, giving me the space to share myself. I appreciate you creating a space for yourself, right? And the people that you're attracted to or attached to, I should say,
Right.
Because that opens the avenue and floodgates for us to influence so many other people beyond ourselves, beyond our circle of influence, bro. So salute to you and
Appreciate
everything that you do. Salute to your guys for all of the behind the scenes work, because it's not just one person that creates this phenomenal thing that you got going here, bro. So salute to all of you guys.
Man, we appreciate that. We appreciate that. So, man, tell the people a little bit about Tero Roberts, what makes Tero tick, why you do what you do, and just give us a little bit, a quick introduction to the man, because some of my guests may have never seen you. I've seen you. I've had the pleasure of hearing you speak. I've watched you for several years, watched your journey, your evolution. So just give us a little bit of the backstory of Tero Roberts.
Man, so let's see. Abandoned kid, right? Raised by my grandmother and my grandfather. Divorcee, failed 1,000 times, 1,000 times over, right? Depressed, unhappy, right? Struggled, homeless 4.5 years,
Wow.
broke, jobless. I can go on and on, bro. And I choose to highlight those things instead of all of the great things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because when I highlight those things, there's nothing else you can say about me. There's nothing else that you can do to take whatever's left inside of me out of me, right? And there's nothing that you can refute with what I'm about to say, right?
Right.
Because I've been through my own struggles, my own pitfall, my own downfalls, right? My own recovery to things that necessarily wasn't handed to me properly, right? And like I say, it's not really about the cards you were dealt. It's about what you do with those cards, right?
Right.
And so I'm just here as a man of God, bro, on my healing journey still, even inside of me, assisting other people with their healing journey. Just working my cards, bro. Just working the cards I was dealt, bro.
Yeah, man, that's dope to hear, man. And that's the beautiful thing is people often don't understand the warfare that you faced to get to this point in your life where
Right.
you can impact people and you're dropping jewels and you're helping people heal. And I often hear you say doing that heart work, right? Because that's
Absolutely.
where it all begins, right? And so they never really fully understand it. They see your glory, but they don't know your backstory, right? And they wouldn't,
Absolutely.
like I say, I wear a size 12. I don't know what you wear, but I'm pretty sure unless you wear a size 12, I can't wear your shoe, right? And even if
Absolutely.
I wear your shoes, they're not going to fit right. They're not going to be comfortable because they're broken in for the way that you walk in them. They're broken in for the way that you wear them and lace them up. So I can't look at your story and be like, oh man, I can do that. I can be that because I don't know what you paid the price. And there's a cost to the oil. I tell people that all the time. You look at what somebody's doing, but you don't know the price that they paid to get where they got.
Right.
And you don't understand the work that they had to do to even get to the point to be confident enough to share that story. Because that, you talking about being homeless, you talking about being abandoned. We have some similarities, man. And oftentimes that enemy, that inner man, you don't want to share that with people because it's like the shame of what you went through.
Absolutely.
but not understanding that once you open your mouth, it is meant to free somebody else who's facing that same struggle, that same issue. And in that time, in that space, that when you speak into their life, or when you put that post out there, that is meant to free them in that moment. So that's really dope to hear you say it, man. And I'm so excited about this discussion and what
You
we're
know what's
going to jump
crazy,
into.
bro? You know what's crazy, bro? I was thinking about God revealed something to me today, right? Because
Mm-hmm,
what you just said with revealing yourself and working on your inner man,
mm-hmm,
all of that is placed here for you to build strong relationships.
mm-hmm.
And those strong relationships are built so you can get where you're trying to go. But I was questioning, like, why do so many people fail and complain about failed relationships? And God revealed something to me, bro. Uh,
Drop
he,
them
he's,
bars.
and he said, failed relationships are due to the lack of transparency inside of those relationships,
Mm-hmm.
right? And once you, whether it's platonic or whether it's romantic, right?
Right.
And once you divvy up the courage to share yourself with others, and not only share yourself, but be open and provide a safe space for them to share themselves with you,
Mm-hmm.
what happens is inside of them sharing their self with you, it reveals to you who you are. And when you can get the revelation of who you aren't, that gives you the opportunity to work on that shadow work. And when
Right.
two people in unison start to work on their shadow work, what happens is the fuel from this person and the fuel from this person actually fuels each other's vehicle and allow them to move forward in unison and elevate to whatever it is they're desired to become. But the problem is most people are looking to put a hose in someone else's car and strip their fuel without equally pouring it back into their car, bro. And so
Right.
that's why a lot of relationships aren't advancing like we would like them to, because not too many people are willing to service someone else's vehicle, if that makes sense.
No, that makes total sense, man. Because I've come to the realization and revelation here lately. So right now I'm reading the Way of the Superior Man. I'm not sure if you
Boom.
read that book,
Of
but
course, multiple times.
that book talks about you giving your gift and what you're put here to do. And if you're not giving your gift, you're not operating in superior man authority.
Right,
You're
absolutely.
you're falling back, right? And so oftentimes we forget that we were here put here to serve, right?
Right, of
Because God has
course.
placed something in each and every one of us. And I often tell people what is placed inside of us is already there. It's not God is going to pour it into you at some later date. He
It's
packaged
already
it
in
in
you.
he packaged it in you when he predestined you, right? And so
Absolutely.
what you have to do is do the work. So what I want to talk about too, man, is how it's so important on this journey to do that inner work. And like, how do you start? Like, so most men like us, they don't have those coping mechanisms. They don't have the information.
Absolutely.
They haven't taken the time to research the information and get around people that have forced them to take that look in that dirty mirror and understand that they need to shave. They need to edge up. They need to wash their face. They haven't
Right.
done that. We've done that because we had the vehicle, which was Herbalife, is kind of how we met. And that was one of the
Absolutely.
main things it talked about is personal development. And I feel like you, as well as I, have kind of morphed from that personal development into that purpose that God has designed for us. So talk about how to get to that level of transparency with yourself where you can really start doing that inner work.
Well, it's crazy, bro. Two things that you titled your podcast Genesis, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing. And then two things you brought up the way of the superior man, right?
Right.
And what a lot of people miss in the way of the superior man, that it's really talking about Genesis, the beginning of time,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so when you really think about the beginning of time, most people from a surface level think of Adam and Eve, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when they think of Adam and Eve, they think of male and female, right? And
Right.
they think of male being the first one created on earth. In actuality, male in the scripture means human,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so when you start to think of human, now you start to intertwine what is Adam and Eve. And so in every human, there's an Adam and Eve, right? Adam being the masculine, Eve being the feminine, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
when you go back to the way of the superior man, it's basically tapping into we all possess masculine and feminine traits,
That's
right?
it.
And so the objective in life is to master whatever it is that doesn't come natural to you. So
Mm-hmm.
for a man, the masculine normally comes natural. So your job in the world is to connect with enough women that teach you how to operate inside of your feminine so you can start to perfect it. And
Mm-hmm.
then when we start to talk about women, they naturally operate in the feminine, right? And so the feminine, you're supposed to be able to contact so many men in your life on a natural platonic way that it could perfect your masculine inside of you. And for most men, it starts with your mom, right? And
Right.
so when you start to look at most men hurt, they operate in their masculine in regards to women because
Mm-hmm.
they lack the feminine in their mom. And when you start
Wow.
to talk about the women, they operate mostly in the feminine. I don't need a man. I can do this by myself because they lack the masculinity of their father. And so most people are operating from year 2 to about year 7 of all of the things that play in their head that they mostly use as a sponge, and they create limited character. And
Mm-hmm.
that limited character, I always say, it's like a crutch, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so think about when you tear your Achilles or mess up your knee or whatever, and you got to be on crutches, right?
Right.
And so you can look at those crutches as an opportunity to help you walk, where if you didn't have those crutches, you will be limping or to be in a lot of pain. And so most people go through life on crutches, and they're walking in different rooms, attracting other people on crutches. And
Mm-hmm.
then once so many people get around you that are operating in a limp, you start to think that the limp is the only way that you're going to get from point A to point B. And so until you're able to put down those crutches, meaning limited beliefs,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I don't need a man to do this. Oh, that woman is going to take advantage of me if I reveal my pain to her.
Right.
Until you put down those crutches, meaning working on your ability to stand alone, you're going to forever be able to limp, and you'll never be able to fully run into whatever your destiny is. And so the objective, to circle it back around, is to make sure that you master your masculine, the point in which you go from black and white, making sound decisions minus the emotions or minus the way that you feel, and then perfect your feminine, meaning being able to tap into your emotions when something requires you to have a little bit of empathy, if that makes sense. So that's the start for me, bro.
Man, that's major, bro. That is major. You just dropped a whole bunch of bars. You just dropped a whole sermon in the middle of the show. But this is good. This is what the readers, I mean, the listeners need, right? And especially us as men. And so that's like one thing I've had to do over the last several years. I've gone on this journey because it's mistakes that I've made, things that I've done, decisions that I've made that weren't very the most intelligent for a man that's supposed to be, seasoned in his grown space, right? And what I was telling some fellas of mine a couple of days ago is really crazy. Like like you say, when you start understanding the Bible, understanding the word and how it metaphorically applies to what you're dealing with now, right? It's not just a story, but there's a story within that story that applies to
Mm-hmm.
what you're doing in this present state. And so even with David and Bathsheba, right? David is 50 to 60 years old and he makes this mistake behind a woman and pretty much destroys his legacy, or could have destroyed his legacy for the most part. The beautiful thing that helped David is that he was a man after God's own heart, and he understood how to own up to his mistakes immediately after he made them. And
Right.
so that is like, what I've learned from that is, one, it doesn't matter at what space you're in your light. If you're not consistently doing that hard work on a daily basis, right? Like the Bible says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. That is not a one-time event. That is every day you get up, you have to be transformed, because something is going to pop up that's going to test you. That's going to test you on that masculine side or that feminine side. And the great thing about that book that I've learned too as well is sometimes the way that I challenge my wife, she's not going to be receptive to it because I'm coming to her on the masculine side, right? It's a
Absolutely.
masculine challenge. And so the feminine side of her is not able to respond to that because she doesn't understand it. It doesn't resonate with her. So when you do that type of work and you do that type of study, you begin to understand how to address these issues and how to meet a person where they're at, whether it be like with the way of the superior man is, you meet your woman, your soulmate, or your better half, you meet her on that feminine side. It's not a challenge her, it's I'm going to encourage her so that she does better. And so those are the things that we didn't get when we were younger. And you don't get these things unless you take the time to read, to study, to do the work, right? To have the tough conversations with yourself, right? So it's like you have to see it, you have to own it, you have to fix it, or you have to implement it in order to fix it. And a lot
And
of
then
times we don't do that.
And then you can even go back again when we start to talk about the Bible in a one man, meaning the womb of a man.
Hmm.
Basically, that understanding is any woman that you operate in
Hmm.
comes from the attachment of you, the
Right.
feminine inside of you. So
Hmm.
they ultimately become a mirror of who you're showing up as. So if you
Exactly.
aren't able to take your masculinity and distribute it inside of someone else's femininity, then that mirror image is basically revealing to you internally the work that still needs to be left done inside of you. And most
No.
people don't operate that it's a you versus you thing. God just uses people as a parable so you
Hmm.
can see yourself in the form of a human,
Exactly.
if
Exactly.
that
It's
makes
like a
sense.
mirror, right? It should be a reflection off of everybody that you interact with. You should be so spiritually discerning that you understand what's going on in that instance, and you take that opportunity to say, okay, this is an area of opportunity for growth for me. I saw what just happened. Now I know how to address it moving forward. All right.
Absolutely.
And so I tell people all the time, like, you need to quit acquiescing to the level that the person that you're dealing with to try to pull them to your level. You need to continue to elevate your level so they got one or two things to do. They can rise with you or they can break away. It's
Right.
either or, right? You don't acquiesce and play small ball because a person is not moving the way that you want to. You operate in your purpose, you operate in your assignment, and everything else will fall in line with that.
Well, most people use that as an scapegoat to not do the self work and the
Right.
self inventory. You know, it's easier to blame someone else instead of you doing the work yourself. And so, what most people naturally do is blame the people around them instead of the person inside of them.
Right.
Right? And that's why we never fully move forward in whatever it is God created us to become. Because instead of using those people around us as chess players, we use them as checkers players and we try to over jump them and move them out of the way instead of using them as an opportunity to catapult or boost us forward into our kingdom or our queendomship. If that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense.
Oh, it makes total sense, man. And that's so dope. The conversation. This is like, I love this. This is my wheelhouse. And what people have to understand, and what I had to really understand and catch a hold of, is I be the best person, the divine version of myself. The person that needs to be in my spirit, in my face, is going to come about. Right? You can't attract bad with bad. If you
Right.
bad, that's what you're going to attract. You
Right.
can't attract excellence with mediocrity. They just don't
Absolutely.
go together. They repel each other. So once people realize that what you want to become or what you want in a mate, you must first become. It's like you don't get it, then you become it. You got to be it before you get it.
Absolutely. And then even in the scripture, it speaks about that in the
Yeah.
New Testament when the disciples asked Jesus why they couldn't cast out the demon.
Hmm.
And Jesus said, because of your unbelief. It
Exactly.
wasn't about your faith because God said he gives us all the measure of faith, meaning the
Hmm.
equal amount. So that means everybody has the equal amount of faith, but somewhere, somehow, your life has resonated inside of you that you can't do whatever it is God has already birthed in you, as you spoke about earlier. And
Hmm.
so now, with the faith that you still have, your unbelief overpowers it and it cancels out the faith that you had. And so that's why you couldn't cast out the demon or the parable in your life of things around you. And even moving a step further, if people start to really dissect the scripture, anytime Jesus did a wonderful act, it was due to him first asking them if they believed,
Hmm.
right? And so they had to first believe, no matter how powerful the parable of Jesus was, they had to first believe it within themselves. And so many people operate in unbelief and they're
Hmm.
hoping and latching on to people with belief and hoping that that person and the work that they've done is going to operate somehow inside of their lives. And it simply don't happen like that.
No, and pretty much every miracle in the New Testament, what did he say after he performed the miracle? Your faith has made you whole.
Absolutely. There it
So
is.
that
Your
that
faith
lets
has
you know
made
that
you
that's that
whole.
person is made you whole. And if you don't believe within yourself, there's nothing that anybody else can do for you. You can latch on to people, and what you become at that point is a parasite.
Absolutely. Just slacking on like a leech. It's trying to strip
Exactly.
somebody of what the work that they put into themselves, man. And it's amazing to me, bro, with everything out into this world for us to really attach onto and fill ourselves with the knowledge that we didn't have when we were younger, and people still won't do the work. They say if you want to ever hide something from a black man, you put it in a book, bro.
Bro.
And a lot of people don't want to pick up a book to save their life. And so
Exactly.
it's
Exactly.
insane, man.
Right. The Bible says you seek and ye shall find. It didn't say I'm
Absolutely.
gonna give it to you. You
Right.
say you gotta search it out. Like you gotta
It
earn it.
knock,
Right.
knock, and the door
Yeah.
be open to you. Seek and you shall find. Right?
Right.
Ask and it will be given unto you. It's
Exactly.
always a step that you must do because guess what? Since the beginning of time, God made man authority on earth. So if
Uh-huh.
he gave you the authority, that means you have to give him the okay to act in your life. But most people
Exactly.
think it's just going to rain down on them from the heavens above, when in actuality, the heavens is really inside of you.
Yep. And then people don't know that's dope because I was researching something a while ago and we was talking about the Lord's Prayer. And it said so basically this God's kingdom is a government.
Absolutely.
And you have to fall under subjection to the king, the authority. God is the king. So that's
Right.
when prayer comes in, right?
Right.
That's when you're giving him permission, because the great
Absolutely.
thing about him, he didn't create us to be drones or robots. He gave us free will to make our own choice, and he's not going to break in and give us anything that we need, although he knows that we need it. He wants us
Absolutely.
to ask for it, like
Nor
we just
nor
talked
nor is
about.
nor is he your slave.
Exactly.
Nor can you just pick him up and set him down when you want to.
Mm-mm.
Nor can you just do that, right? And it even says that in 2 Corinthians 10:5, like to keep your eyes on the cross, stay focused on God, make your thoughts obedient to Christ, meaning
Mm-hmm.
stay focused, stay locked into the highest version of you.
That's
And a
right.
lot of people can't operate inside of that because they think God is like this mythical character that sits on your shelf or that hangs on your wall, and he gonna come down and rain things on you, and it just simply don't happen like that, bro.
No, God is inside of us. That's why
Absolutely.
he breathed his breath into us. So what do we think we are when he says, "I will create man in my image and likeness"? And so I tell my fellows that I got this Bible study group that I do every bi-weekly. So we're on this series right now where we're talking about Genesis 1:28, and there's
Okay.
four principles in Genesis 1:28: is to be fruitful, to multiply, subdue, and have dominion. And I
Right.
believe that every brother takes those principles and uses them and intentionally every day, there's no way that you will lose. You're going to
Right.
have some struggles, but there's no way you're going to lose.
Right.
And the thing, like we're talking about, is I tell people oftentimes too that God is an unconditional God of conditions.
Right.
He says, "If you be willing and obedient, you shall eat the good of the land." So
Right.
that if is the caveat, right? And if you do those
Absolutely.
things, you'll get what you desire. And so this is dope, man. I've been waiting for this
Man, I
conversation
love this
for a while.
type of talk, bro. Listen, God revealed to me the other day about this same thing. Another thing that came to me, bro, when it was early in the morning and I was thinking about how you can operate in something and you want something to attach to you, or you want to attract something in your life, but
Mhm.
we easily lose focus, right?
Right.
And one of the parables, of course, we can use about what was it? Peter walking on water, right?
Right.
And lost focus or lost
Hmm.
faith, right? But
Hmm.
I'll take it an even step further, right? When Jesus went up to the mountain to pray,
Hmm.
right? That was a parable of you going up to your highest level of thinking.
Hmm.
And so God answers the prayer of the person that's focused on the higher level of thinking. But if
Right.
you notice, the response stopped
Mhm.
when Jesus went down the mountain, meaning your lower level of thinking, and focused on the sleeping of the disciples.
Right.
And that's what we do. When we're supposed to operate in things, we focus on the lowest hanging fruit and what
Uh-huh.
everybody else
Hmm.
around us is doing. But
Right.
God, back into Corinthians 2, 5, I mean 10, 2 Corinthians 10:5, keep your eyes and your thoughts obedient to Christ,
Mhm.
meaning go up to your mountain and focus on the good things that God has granted you, not
Mhm.
staying below the ground with those are sleeping on your gifts.
That's
Because
it.
when you
That's it.
focus on those sleeping on your gift, you lose focus on the higher level of thinking. I don't know, bro. I just be thinking
Like,
about stuff like that all day,
hey,
bro.
come on, bro. I love it, man. But that lets you, a lot of times that lets people, what that lets me know is people are doing it for the likes, the applause, for the pats on the back, right? So you get distracted with that lower level of thinking. But when you're on that highest version of self and God is speaking to you on a daily basis, because you are crucifying yourself daily. You're dying to that carnal man. You're watching what you're bringing in your ear gate, your eye gate, your mouth, and what you let come out your mouth gate. And so when you start to do those things, it's easier to operate in your divine self or your higher self. Now, I'm not saying you're not going to have issues and things are going to arise that may distract you, but you immediately will get back focused to where you need to go. But that comes with maturity, that comes with the emotional intelligence, and that comes with just vulnerability to understand these are my weaknesses. I know I need to work on them. So I'm intentional about what I'm doing, because I know if I don't, I'm going to let this low level thinking pull me down.
Well, even with Jesus, your highest level of thinking, guess what? When he was in the desert, the enemy took him up the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you could be up at your highest level of thought, and the enemy will still try to creep in. And if you're
Exactly.
not certain of those thoughts, if you're not locked into the word of God and what he spoke over your life, then the enemy will easily creep in and offer you something that looks like it's of God, right? To get you to jump off the mountain. But
Mm-hmm.
so if the enemy will do it to your highest being, then he'll do it to your lowest level of being.
Hey, that's what they say. That's easy picking when you're on that lower level thinking, right?
Right.
But this is dope, man, and this is why I feel like the hard work navigating internally, because you have to kill that inner man that you were born with, that was born into abandonment, that was born into trauma, that was born into your parents not knowing what to do with you, and they did the best that they know how. Like, I'm not going to hold you accountable for something that I know that you didn't even really know what you were doing. And
Right.
that's my mom, right? Had me at
Right.
19 to a guy, never met him, lived in the same city, whole 9 yards, right? I'm not gonna hold him accountable for that. But what we can do is look at that, make sure that we grow moving forward, and that we don't
Absolutely.
repeat those mistakes, right? And so that's
Right.
why this work is imperative, because if not, it's going to be a hamster wheel and a repetitive cycle. Because what we don't realize often is that stuff is passed down from generation to generation.
Of
If
course.
you look at Abraham and you look at Isaac,
Isaac. Right.
they both lied in instances,
Right.
right? About the
Right.
same thing. How could they have done that? And they didn't even know, and Isaac didn't know that Abraham had done that said thing.
Right.
So that lets me know, like, if we're not careful, we will repeat the sins of the father, and they will
Absolutely.
continue to cascade down, 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 unless we get to a point where we do the work, the shadow work, the inner work, all the work that's required to break that curse, to become the highest level of self, and to walk in your divine purpose, and to make an impact on the world. Because we're not here just to be here. There's a purpose, there's a mission, there's a calling on our life, and we have to
Absolutely.
understand what that is, and then be intentional about walking in that purpose. So, like with you, I know you do fitness, and then you kind of, morphed into that. Like, how did you discover like what your lane was, how you were going to move into that lane to be the most honorable version of that person?
Well, bro, so it started for me, honestly. What's crazy is I'll say this. Everything that was revealed to me happened when I was in my desert seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so I can remember at 21 years old, and I was extremely unhappy with myself. I was trying to figure out life. I was attached to women that weren't necessarily attached to me, right? And so, of course, as a man in your masculine, when you feel like a woman is not valuing you, it
Mm-hmm.
kind of tears that masculinity apart, right?
Right.
And so inside of my discovery, I started to work on myself. I started
Mm-hmm.
to do push-ups,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I said, man, I don't want to be skinny no more, man. I'm gonna go out and attract the prettiest, most fine woman in the world. Well, what that led to is me working out and joining a membership. And
Uh-huh.
once I started getting acknowledgement from the women, I said, yo, let me be a personal trainer. and
Uh-huh.
let me go get my certification,
Uh-huh.
right? And so what I thought I was doing for the women, I was really doing for my purpose, right? I was
Right.
really operating in my purpose. Now, fast forward when we start to talk about a little more in depth when I get past my 30s, because I always say, as a man, you start to learn the most about yourself between 30 and 40 years old,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I went through a very terrible divorce. It left me homeless 3.5 years, right? I was broke. I was without a job. I couldn't see my kids, right? Because that's one thing they don't tell you when you go through a divorce. You also got to divorce the in-laws and you got to divorce your kids. Right? And so that put me in a very vulnerable state, a very closed in mind, right? A
Mm-hmm.
very broken spirit. That allowed me to really dig deeper into the word of God and really study from a relational standpoint,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so when I started to do that, I started to work on myself. When I started working on myself, I started entering courses that helped me with trauma,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I ended up starting Herbalife, and inside of Herbalife, what I noticed was in order for me to build a business, I had to work on the trauma inside of my femininity because my entire team were women,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I started to take courses on my heart and all of that. Well, that work allowed me to forgive my mom for what I thought I knew of my
Right.
mom, right? Because, as parents, it's hard to really know if you're doing a good job. You're just doing the best you can. And being inside of those courses allowed me to see now my mama didn't abandon me. My mama did the best she can with what she had at the
Right.
time in which she had,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so that allowed me to give empathy for my mom. And inside of that empathy for my mom, it allowed me to give grace to myself. And when I was able to give grace to myself, it allowed me to be in rooms with women that needed a certain level of masculinity in their life.
Mm-hmm.
And so instead of me pushing that femininity away, I took it on as a challenge for me to learn each and every part of my feminine nature. Right. And then so that allowed me to start really looking at, wow, I could really do this. And when I started to do that, it made me start do one-on-one coaching. And when
Mm-hmm.
I started doing one-on-one coaching, I realized it was nothing but women that wanted my coaching service, right? And
Uh-huh.
so it allowed me to operate in assisting with healing with women, and assisting with healing with them became a mirror to my assisting with me healing with myself. And that allowed me to attract different type of women in my life, enter different rooms that possess those quality of women that I wanted to eventually elevate to inside of my business. And the rest is history, bro. I'm here speaking for men like you and I, that desire to be a catalyst in life, not just for the masculinity pump our chest out movement, but
Mm-hmm.
also for the femininity and loving on our brothers and telling your brothers I love you and hugging your brothers and saying you look fly and all of those different things, bro. So that's where I'm at today.
Man, that's dope, man. And what I heard in that story, right, is you figured out why you existed, which was your
Mm-hmm.
purpose. Then you figured out where you were going or where you wanted to go, which was your vision. And then you figured out how to get there, which was your
Absolutely.
strategy, your strategic anchors to get you there. And so he just gave a master class on how to get where you want to go. So if you're a young fella listening to this call and you have no direction, or if you're even a seasoned fella or female and you're listening to this and you don't know where to go, you have to figure out why you exist. You have to figure out where you want to go, and then you got to figure out how you're going to get there. So that's the purpose, the vision, and the strategy. And if you do that on a daily basis, it's going to get you in spaces like Tero is talking about, right? And I've seen this brother speak. Man, I can't even think of the word I want to
Appreciate
use
it,
right
bro.
now, but we say he mesmerizes the crowd, right? Everybody is tuned in and listening to what he's saying and hanging on his every word because he has something to say. So I want to ask you this, brother. What would you say for a person that has, got those steps in place and they figured out, I've done the work. I need to figure out, I kind of know where I'm going. What would you tell the person to do, anybody over the next 30, 60, 90, the rest of 2024? What would you give them advice on what to do to further elevate themselves in life from that spiritual man dealing with that masculine and that feminine side, and just elevating in life to get into the rooms and spaces that we're talking about now?
I would say get in solitude, bro. Because solitude allows you to hear things differently. It allows your vision to see things clearer, right? It opens your heart to feel God different,
Mm-hmm.
right? And see, once you can feel God at his highest form, once you can hear his voice in solitude, and once you can see the vision that he's casted before you, then it allows you to align yourself with each and every move. Because sometimes it ain't really about if we know what we want to do or
Right.
if we got the vehicle that's going to drive us there. Sometimes it's God preparing us for the fork in the road.
Right.
Sometimes it's God preparing us for the flat tire in the desert that we're going to need to change.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's going to be God preparing us for the pit stop in which there's someone racist or don't want you to shop or get gas at they spot,
Mm-hmm.
right? And those are things that we can't see far out where we're trying to go. And so, yes, you may have it down pat where you currently are driving, but you may not have the route when you get down the road 100 miles, 200 miles, 1,000 miles down the road that you're going to need a certain level of guidance that's going to say, here, I know it say go forward, but I need you to exit off right here, even though you think that you know there because it's a lot of traffic up there that you can't see. And so
Uh-huh.
if you take this right, it's going to save you 10 years off your time. It's
Right.
going to save you heartache and pain. It's going to save you from pulling over the side of the road because your engine ran
Uh-huh.
hot, if that makes sense. So solitude is the key, bro.
Yeah. You have to have that wilderness experience to prepare you for where you need to go. And I was just actually talking to my son about this. You know, there's certain instances in spaces in life I just never felt like I fit in. I didn't feel like I belong, and that's for a reason, right? Because you have something that's calling you on the inside of you, trying to just claw its way out of you, but you have to do that work and sit in silence to figure out what it is. And then, like you said, get in the gym. Like when you get in the gym on that first day, you don't have a six pack,
Right,
you don't have no stamina, you
right,
barely can lift 135 pounds. But
right,
the more consistent you are, the more that you show up each and every day, it becomes easier. You challenge yourself more, and you start to see more results. And so
right.
I liken that to what you're just talking about, right? You get in that wilderness, and you start doing that work, and just put a stack a day behind a day, and then another day behind another day, and you just worry about what's in front of you. Stop worrying
Absolutely.
about what's 6 months ahead, what's a year ahead. Consistency is the key that compounds.
Right.
And so we have to be consistent with what we're doing. And so that's the same thing that you're just talking about, right? Getting in that wilderness, doing that work, being in prep mode, being in training camp. Because when it's time to go to the game, you want to be able to perform at a high level. And so you have to be able to trust the process and focus more on the process than the outcome.
And then, and the thing is, you may have been in a wilderness before, but that wilderness may be different from this wilderness, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that wilderness might have just been dry with no water. This
Mm-hmm.
wilderness might be dry with no water with scorpions and stuff trying to bite.
Right.
Right? And so you got to be prepared for each and every wilderness that's going to prepare you for where you're trying to go. I like to allude it to, I work out every single day, bro, in the weight room.
Right.
Last night I said, yo, I'm going to start back doing push-ups because that's where I started. Man,
Right.
I got down and did 50 push-ups. I almost died. And I did them straight, but I felt the pain where I used to could do them for 100 straight.
Wow.
And so God was speaking to me saying, although you may have been in that wilderness,
Hmm.
this is another beast. So I need you to prepare for this wilderness the same way that you prepare for the other. And that kind
Right.
of alludes to what you just said.
Right. And that's what they said. It's like I often hear people say new levels, new devils, but you don't really understand what you're saying when you say that, right?
Right,
Just because you went through something, that same devil ain't coming for that next level. And so if that same devil is coming at you, you're really not elevating. You're just repeating the test. It's going
right,
to be a different crutch, is going to be a different issue as you elevate to the next height in your journey in this thing called life. And I like, this conversation is we're talking about, like, one, facing the fact that we all come into this world broken. I
right,
often hear people say, I have church hurt. Why do you have church hurt? Everybody in the
right,
church is broken. Like,
right,
you're walking in the church expecting everybody to be Jesus. Nobody in the church is Jesus,
right.
right? So
Well,
don't expect perfection.
the biggest mistake that we make, especially in our community, bro, is we think God is the church. And
Right.
in the scripture, it clearly says God does not dwell in houses made of man's hands.
Mm-hmm.
And so God is not in the church. The church brings together godly people
Exactly.
in one space for you to build communion with. But inside of godly people, there's also devilish people.
Exactly.
There's also a part of them that they haven't attacked yet.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so your mission is to go in there and connect and show your God given gifts or talents to the world and allow it to naturally either attract the people that you can support or attract the people that can support you along your journey.
Right. Right. And I definitely agree with that wholeheartedly. And I just, want our listeners to understand, just like he said, he's still working through things, right? I'm still
Absolutely.
working through things. So I may be on a platform, he may be on a platform, but don't get it twisted. We still human. We still got issues we got to work through. This is an everyday. Who was that in that movie? I think it was Cameron said, brothers get shot every day, be or something like that.
Oh yeah, you're paid in full.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
every day I get up, it's something, right? I got to
Man,
deal
I
with something
cried the
within
other
myself.
day because I ain't where I want to be. And
Right.
I think that's just a part of the emotions that allow you to appreciate it when you arrive. Right?
Exactly.
And so a lot of people look at it, they use that water from their tears to flood their soil, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm using it to water mine.
Right.
And I think
Right.
that's the difference with you elevating forward or retracting or retreating back.
Right. Man, I could probably sit on this here pod for about another 2 hours with your brother, because this is the type of conversations I relish in, and this is what you call iron sharpening iron. And I often tell people, if you're in a circle and you're not having conversations like this, or somebody is coming from an angle that you're not really strong in, then you're in the wrong place, right?
Absolutely.
Like, you need to have people that are ahead of you, that are on the same level, but can pour into you in a different way. Like it's like a D coordinator. He's known for 3-4, but then you run the 46, and I want to learn the 46. That's old Bears terminology for some of those who may not know that. That's Buddy Ryan, just to be exact. But I want to learn the 46 defense, a blitzing style of defense. So I got
Right.
to sit up under somebody who may be on in the same space, same lane with me, but they're more versed in that space. And the
Right.
problem with so many of us black men is, you can't tell me nothing.
Right.
What you gonna tell me?
Right.
You're never gonna elevate in that space. So that's why I appreciate guys like you, Tero. Like, when you put out something, I'm watching, I'm listening to, I'm like, okay, you got me looking at this from a different lens now. I never looked at it that way, and that's what it's about, right?
Boom.
Enlightening each other,
Absolutely.
growing, iron sharpening the iron, and just building up this kingdom. Because I do believe this: if we don't get back to that the genesis of manhood, us as a community, we are in dire straits.
Right. Because our people, man, we never think that our mirror is cracked or dirty. We
Mm-hmm.
just think that it's hanging on the wrong wall and that it needs to be moved to a different wall. If that makes sense. And
Oh,
that's the
makes total
problem
sense.
with most of us. We never
Right,
want to clean our own mirrors.
right,
We
right.
want to focus on everyone else's mirror and why theirs isn't clean. But it's just a reflection of where we showing up and where we haven't did the work within ourselves.
Yeah, that's why I'm trying to get the speck out your eye while I got a log in mine.
Absolutely.
That's it right there. So, man, we gonna close this thing out, man. I kind of had a framework for what we want to do, but I also wanted to let this conversation go where it was, because sometimes I think that God and the Spirit leads it where it needs to go. So, in closing, Tero, tell people how they can find you, what you got coming up next, how they can support you.
Man, I'm on Facebook, Roberts Tero. I have it backwards on Facebook, right? But on Instagram, I have two actual accounts. The Mind of Tero, that's TheMindTero, and I also have We Fit Tero, WeFittero on IG. You can find me there. My links are in the bio. If you ever want to book a session with me one on one, if you want speaking engagements, group therapy, whatever it is that you want, I got it. Holla at your boy. Or if you just want to follow me for daily inspiration, I love to pick people's brain and follow people back that also equally provide that same level of consciousness as me, man, because I'm always willing to learn and grow and evolve with other people. So yeah, that's me, bro.
Hey, okay. Again, you heard that. We Fit Tarot on IG. I put all the information in the bio. Y'all go follow this brother. Very dope brother. He has something to say. Will be one of the top, if not the top speaker in the game soon. And
Yes,
see, that's
sir.
another thing you got to do. You got to be able to clap and pat somebody else on the back. Me and Tero in the same space, but we got different gifts.
Right.
We got different spirits that we're meant to influence.
Right.
So why would I not want to have this brother on him and allow him to share what he has? Because it's going to elevate me, and I want to see this brother win. So remember this: if you want to lead, you first got to be able to follow, and if you want people to clap for you, first you got to be able to support. So with that
Absolutely.
said, man, I want you to give people a Tero Roberts bar as we close out this episode of the Genesis, episode 4.
Okay. First of all, bro, I appreciate you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you for the support, the love, bro. So much gratitude in my heart for you, bro. Genuinely, I'm definitely speaking nothing but love and success and prosperity and abundance at your feet, bro. That God nourishes everything in your soil that needs nourishing, bro. Then that your seeds continue to plant great fruit and that people are attracted to that fruit because it nourishes their souls, bro.
Appreciate that.
So they're putting that on you, bro. And I'll say this: you're not the person that you see in the mirror. You are the way that you feel when you see said.
Whoa.
That's a bar.
Hey, you heard that, man. You heard what he said. And I just piggyback on that. Your experiences shape your beliefs shapes your actions shape your results. If you're not getting the results that you want, go back to the Genesis and start over. Hey, this
There
has
it
been your
is.
boy CY with none other than Tero Roberts. We Fit Tero. This is the Genesis podcast, the Renaissance of Manhood. Stay tuned for episode 5 coming out pretty soon. But we'll be dropping some clips on this one because this one is a heat rock. We appreciate you, brother. We love you, man, and we want nothing but peace, prosperity, abundance, and increase on
Yes,
your life as
sir.
well. Let's go get it. Let's go be great. Till next time, Genesis Podcast, we out.